You've been sitting on that idea for months, maybe even years. But every time you get close to even trying it out, your brain starts to come up with thoughts that prevent you from starting. Probably like, if it's not perfect, I'm over it. I just need one more certification before I get started. Or what if I pivot and that just further proves that I'm a flaky or scattered person? But here's what's actually happening. You're stuck in that same thinking trap that almost destroyed the movie Jaws. And I'm being serious. That's why today I'm going to show you how to spot something called all or nothing thinking, which is a type of negative thought that can honestly prevent you from fulfilling your dreams. So I'm going to teach you that. Plus, I'm going to teach you how to work with your constraints instead of against them by using some psychological framework and not just toxic positivity. Welcome to the Multipassionate Soul podcast, where we turn scattered into strategic. And I'm Crystal, an associate marriage and family therapist, a multi-passionate creative, an ex-advertiser who is passionate about helping you turn your mix into your magic. So I'm doing something kind of new today for my podcast, and that is actually filming it without entirely looking at a script so that I can share this on YouTube. And it feels really uncomfortable right now. And of course it feels uncomfortable because it's new, because our self-care and wellness here on this channel is super important. This is a good moment where I'm actually going to drink some water. No matter what I do, where I go, water is something that is always going to be with me. And if I, for some reason, forget my water bottle, I will buy one. So that's just how important it is to me, because I don't think people know, but H2O is also a really vital part of self-care. So I just had to throw that in there. So let's get started. Let's see if I can do this without looking at my script the entire time. Okay, I deviated a little bit, but let me get back to the actual story. Let me tell you about a very expensive Hollywood disaster that I believe made over 400 million, in the box office at this time. So anyways, it's like 1975 and Spielberg was in his late 20s, and he was filming what he was hoping at this time was going to be just a blockbuster hit about a killer shark. Spielberg was known to say during certain interviews that the filming of this movie was just horrid. There was a lot of problems specifically with this shark. It was a mechanical shark. By the way, it had a name. His name was Bruce, which was named after Spielberg's attorney. So how fitting is that? But anyways, with the shark, there were so many problems. It was basically an imperfect shark that they wanted to be perfect to make that blockbuster. So with the shark, I guess it wasn't surfacing on cue. And a lot of the times when they would put the shark in the Atlantic Ocean, the seawater was actually corroding the shark. So it was looking really, really fake. But because of all the problems they were facing filming this movie, especially with, all the issues with the imperfect mechanical shark, they were behind production schedule and they were way over budget. So all of this leading to, Spielberg is on record saying that he really thought that this was going to be the end of his career and he would go back to doing like indie films or something like that. But here is the type of thought that could have ended Jaws before it even started. Someone could have said, hey, because the shark isn't perfect, this is it. We're not doing this. Then the world would have never experienced the movie Jaws, for one. But that type of thought, it has a name. And with that type of thought, everything has to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, we see it as a failure. There's no middle ground. But the type of thought that is called an all or nothing type of thought, or it's also known as a black and white thought. And it's one of the most common cognitive distortions that creatives have. So let me first explain what a cognitive distortion is. I want you to pretend right now that I'm giving you a pair of glasses to put on, but the lenses are pink. And if I asked you, okay, what color is my door right here? Well, with glasses that have pink lenses on it, you're gonna say that door is pink. Well, what if I give you glasses that have a green pair of lenses and I said, hey, what color is my door? You're gonna tell me, oh, your door is green. But the problem is that it's neither pink or green. The door is actually white. So that's a cognitive distortion. It doesn't allow you to see reality as it truly is. It gives you a distorted view of reality. And you can tell you have an all or nothing type of thought or a black and white type of thought, which is, remember, it's a cognitive distortion. You can tell that you have that type of thought when you're hearing words like always, never, completely, totally, perfect, ruined, failure, and waste. But if we're going back to that movie Jaws, well, Steven Spielberg, he did something different. He didn't just pull the plug because the shark was not perfect, because production was behind schedule, and because they were way over budget. He had to have asked a different question. Something along the lines with, okay, so this shark isn't perfect. Things, they're not looking great. What can I work with? And when you do this, you have to look at the actual evidence that you have around you, regarding whatever circumstance you're in. For example, if you watch the movie Jaws, which maybe you have, there's a lot of those underwater point of view shots. There are scenes where you see those yellow barrels just kind of bobbing in the water, like, it's really forcing the audience to use their imagination of what's going on. And of course, you have the looks of fear on some of the, actors' faces in the movie, and you have the iconic theme song that goes da-dun, dun. I mean, very suspenseful stuff, right? So he used all of these other things that he had available to him to make up for the imperfections of this shark. And that broken shark, well, guess what? It actually was like one of the most iconic parts of the movie because Spielberg worked with his constraints. But what if you can all do the same? What if you can work with your constraints? So let's go and use a real life example. Let's say you are a multi-passionate creative who wants to start a YouTube channel. But one of the thoughts that you have that's getting in your way is, you know what? I want to start a YouTube channel, but my environment is not perfect. So it's just going to be a failure. All or nothing type thinking, right? Or AKA black and white type thinking. And here's how you tap into some Steven Spielberg type energy, right? Okay, what evidence do I have to work with? And I'm even going to use myself as an example because this is an easy one. You know what? Maybe your video isn't perfect. Maybe your setup isn't perfect. Maybe you have bad lighting. Maybe you don't have the ideal aesthetics. Maybe that's true. But maybe you do have a good mic, some good sound quality. I don't like my setup right now, but I'm like, okay, well, I have a good mic. It's got good quality. And, I think it gives a professional look. And you know what? My video footage, that's not great quality. It's not perfect quality, but I have it to work with. Okay, so I have that. And you know what? I have my wall is really, there's a lot of things that I want to do with the background, but this is a shared space. So I can't just go putting like flowers all over and pink all over the walls, right? And that, that's not necessarily what I would do, but I'm just saying this is a shared space. So I can't decorate however I want. So right now for the time being, okay, you know what? I got a light. I got a light that contrasts with the dark wall. So I'm going to use it, right? So I am working with my constraints opposed to letting it be the excuse for me to just give up and quit. I'm choosing to believe that my message is more important than my equipment. And for you, maybe, you know what, again, maybe the video footage is not perfect. Maybe your videos aren't perfect, but maybe you use other parts that you do have. And this whole imperfect scenario is what actually creates a community. Maybe it draws your audience because they're like, wow, like I can totally relate to her, him, or them. And let's go through another real life common all or nothing type of thought that, a multi-passionate creative might have. And I'm bringing this up right now because it's real time. This was a thought that I could have had. I realized as I was taking my little restroom break, because you guys know I'm drinking all this water. So anyways, on my restroom break, I was thinking like, oh man, this is going to take a really long time to edit because, I got to match the audio with kind of the video footage that I'm recording here on the cell phone. And when you do that, it could be very difficult to align everything to match. And so it could have been very easy for me to be like, oh gosh, the audio is going to be too hard. Oh, it means it's going to be a failure. It means it's not going to be good. All or nothing type thinking, black or white type thinking. Instead, thankfully, I didn't go down that route because, I've been doing this for a while now. So these things, I can catch them pretty rapidly, especially with my clients and so forth. But anyways, what I did instead, I was thinking like, oh, this is going to take so long. I might not be able to post on Monday, which is usually my schedule. I like to post my podcast on Monday. And with learning how to work with, connecting this audio with the video footage, that might take me a little bit more time. And I still have to see clients throughout the week. So I might not have time realistically to learn how to edit this and then post it by Monday. But instead of having that thought of, oh, you know what? Well, I can't post on Monday. Just forget it. I'm just throwing it out of the water. It's not going to be, this is not going to work, right? Instead of having that all or nothing type thinking, I'm like, okay, you know what? It's really important to me that I stay consistent. That's why I chose Monday to begin with. But okay, if I can't do Monday, that's fine. I'm just going to take my time. I'm not going to be a rush. I feel pretty good that it will be done by sometime next week. And having that type of mindset makes me feel a lot better about moving forward with this particular project. And you can see how easily that one thought, it really could have kept me from posting this video. And that's what, of course, you don't want, right? You don't want your thoughts to prevent you from taking action towards what it is that you want most in this life. All right, so let's put a nice little bow on everything. Let's wrap it up a little bit. And I'm actually looking at my notes right now because I'm getting tired of stopping and recording. And anyway, so hopefully from today's show, this lets you know that the constraint, it isn't the problem. It's that all or nothing type thinking, that black and white type thinking, that's the real problem. And remember our little Jaws story, right? I mean, the broken mechanical shark wasn't actually stopping Jaws from being great. It literally contributed to the success of the movie because they had to be more creative. So the question isn't, how do I fix this constraint? The question is, what can I create using this constraint? That's the shift. That's the breakthrough. Okay. And you know what? You want to see me actually on video read my script on how in my podcast. So maybe we can joke about it after. So this is how I would end it. Basically, before I would just read from my podcast and you'll be. So if this episode helped you see your broken shark differently, I'd love it if you could leave a quick review because your feedback helps other multi-passionate creatives discover this show. And the more people we reach, the more creatives we help move from stuck to strategic. And if you're feeling a little bit stuck, be sure to download my free 30-day journal. It's a guide to clarity for multi-passionates. It's going to help you get unstuck week by week. You'll see it. It's nice and categorized. And be sure to check your spam because your email provider is going to be like, okay, who's Crystal from the Multi-Passionate Soul? So they're just going to put me in spam. So make sure to get me out of spam because probably very soon, it's November, so maybe January-ish, February-ish, I'm going to be offering something really, really helpful. And you're going to need to make sure that you're able to access my email. So I hope you liked this format. I really liked doing it, even though I think editing is going to be a pain in the rear, but I walked the walk. I needed to experiment. I want to see how this is going to work. And in the end, we're hoping that this message falls into the hands of the people that it's meant for. So I will see you on the next episode.